Hi guys, Dr. Pam Turner, owner of Academic Coaching for World Changers, and I really want to hang out with you guys just for a bit to go over some questions. If you're not sure who we are or how you found us, we have been around for many, many years. I'm a college professor about to retire, and I started this business a while ago just to help people understand there's not a cause and effect between being a good counselor, a good social worker, and licensure. Not related at all. I'm teaching you how to pass this test, not teaching you how to be a better social worker. That comes with experience and really good supervision. So again, let's go over a couple of practice questions today. So let's start with a typical question. Before I bring up the question, I want to talk about how we answer. The test is based on content as well as how to. What I hear all the time, I get these first next questions, but there's no content. Not true. Every question is measuring one of the KSAs, knowledge, skills, or abilities that you learned in school. If you're missing a bachelor's, you may be a little bit behind. At the master's level, the assumption is that you know some things already. I have one of my children, I have three, and my youngest one is getting her MSW, but she didn't decide that till later. So her bachelor's degree is in something else, and she struggles a little bit more. I, on the other hand, went to advanced standing, right? Got my master's in a year and a half because I had already had the BSW. So if you're struggling with content sometimes, especially those community questions, go back and read some BSW material. You're missing something. There's no easy way out. It's a test. No one's out to trick you. There are no bad guys out there. There's things you just need to know. Content, and we don't care what happens in your job. What would matter is what the test would say, and also then how to. Now the how to is based on the problem solving method. I promise you, you all learned this in school. We just didn't make it up. I know you have seen Safari or Eat Pie or any of those other acronyms. I'm not a fan of the acronyms. What I find is many of my clients get lost in the acronyms. They spend so much time trying to understand the acronyms that they get lost in the question. What I want you to remember is you get paid to be nosy. That's why you're in this field, right? All those questions your mama said don't ask, we get to ask. So assess, assess, assess first. If that's what you take away from any time with me, assess, 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 please remember that. We want to assess before we intervene. Whether the question says first, next, best, or most, my first thought, are there any other questions I can ask? Okay? If I can't assess in a question, there are two reasons. Either feelings are first. Pam came in the room and she was crying. You're not going to try to assess me when I'm falling apart, boo-hooing, or safety. Those things come before assess, but those are human nature. You do it all the time. Okay? Assess, assess, assess. Remember, we plan with the client, never for the client. It doesn't matter if it's an individual, if it's a couple, if it's a family, a group, or a community. We never tell anybody what to do. That's not what we do, right? Clients live their own lives. We believe in our code of ethics. It says client self-determination. So I want you to remember, assess, assess first. If I can't assess, I'm going to make sure I go back and check for feelings, and safety always trumps everything. I plan with the client. I never tell a client what to do, and termination starts at the beginning. My goal is how do I work my way out of my client's life? Okay, so let's look at this particular question today. I'm going to remind you it's a reading test. It's a reading test. When they put anything in there, those are hints and clues. I will take a paragraph any day. Those one-line questions make me want to scream. Either you know it or you don't. But when I've got a little paragraph, I've got a lot more to work with. So I'm always going to spend more time in the question. Spend more time in the question. And if you're lost, go back to the question. Don't get lost in the answers. Know the content, know the process, and go back to the question. So a 22-year-old woman seeks therapy for feelings of emptiness and frustration. She shares that her parents got divorced a few years ago, and she doesn't have any contact with her father since he remarried and moved away. During the 8th session, that means we're not new, we've been hanging out for a while, she says, oh wait, I've got some suicidal, non-suicidal cutting issues. What would I do first? My gut says assess, 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 but safety may come first because she's got some cutting issues. But in general, I'm thinking, okay, if she's a cutter, maybe she's not suicidal. But those are my thoughts before I look at any of the answers. So let's read all four. Assess for suicide and insist the client sign a no harm contract. B, determine the last incident and refer her for a medical evaluation. C, express concern about the dangers of cutting and assess for suicide. And D, explore the role of cutting and ask about her triggers for cutting. Okay, so I'm at the question still. I'm thinking, well, she could be borderline. That's something I'm thinking about. Margaret Mailer, her object constancy theory, talks about if I don't have the same caregiver those first few years of life, then maybe I could be borderline. She also said conduct disorder comes from that. Antisocial personality, those are my serial killers that are above the age of 16, right? Asocial is people who don't like people, but they're not assigned DSM diagnosis. Avoidant disorder are people that avoid people because they're fear of judgment. Those are personality disorders, cluster A, B, and C. Make sure you know those for the test, guys. Okay, so now I've understood the question and I've got four choices. I'm going to rule out based on there's no way, no how it could be the answer. Okay, so as I read all four, assess for suicide and assist the client sign a no harm contract. Now, I'm going to tell you that's an option. We really can do that. But what I'm looking for in questions, if I get them to sign a no harm contract, I'm looking for a relationship. I'm looking for some proof in the question that she's safe. She's done it before. We've been seeing each other for months, and the last time she was suicidal, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking for some proof in the question. Let's hold on to that one. Okay. So now I'm with B. Determine the last incident and refer her for a medical evaluation. I didn't see anything in the question that there was an incident prior. B's out. B's out. I can't prove that in the question. Okay. C, express concern about the dangers of suicide and assess for B, C, express concern about the dangers of cutting and assess for suicide. I like that one, right? Because I said assess, 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 but of course safety trumps gathering more information. We've been together for 8 sessions. She's told me a little bit, but I'm a little concerned. I think I might keep that one in for a minute. And of course, then my D says, explore the role of cutting and ask about the triggers for cutting. Ooh, okay. So I've got 4 questions, and I'm going to get down to 2. We can go back and we can talk about that I ruled out 2 of them. The 2 that I got down to were A, assess for suicide and assist the client sign a no harm contract. Again, that's an option if I've known her for a bit. Ooh, it's our 8th session. I'm not sure I know her that well, and it's the first time she brought it up. And my other one is explore the role of cutting and ask about triggers for cutting. Ooh, now I'm between assess and safety. Oh my gosh, it's the first question. What do I assess for, or do I worry that she's going to kill herself? Did I see any signs in the question that she was currently suicidal? I don't think I did, right? What it talked about is she has some thoughts, right? She's 22. She came for therapy for feelings of emptiness and frustration. She shares that her parents got divorced a few years ago and she doesn't have any contact with her father, and he remarried and moved away. During her 8th session, she says, occasionally, I engage in non-suicidal self-cutting. I am nosy. I want to know, what does that mean? I don't think she's in imminent danger. There's not enough in the question to prove it, but I want to ask more questions, right? That's my job. I get paid to be nosy. So let's rule out. Okay, again, those were my 4 choices. Assess for suicide and insist that she signed a no harm contract. Determine the last incident. I ruled out B because there's nothing in the question that says there's a prior incident. Okay. And D, so C, explore concerns about her cutting and assess, and move my picture, and assess, Okay. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to get down to the 2 that I know for sure. Okay, so option B, am I keeping that one in? I am not. So B is not my best choice. When documenting the last incident is important, medication evaluations are not the immediate step. There's nothing in the question that says she's had a prior incident. B is out. That's not the best choice. C says express concerns about the dangers of cutting and assess for suicide. I am definitely, that's my assess question, right? Gather more information, but there's nothing in the question that says she's suicidal yet. Okay, she talked about her father, she talked about being upset, she talks about cutting. I'm taking C out. Okay, so now I'm at D. Explore the role of cutting and ask about the triggers for cutting. D is my correct answer. So when I'm assessing, I did not determine that she's in imminent danger. She says, I'm not suicidal, and I have to trust the question. She says, I'm not suicidal, but I'm a cutter. So I have to trust the question and trust that that is what she said to me. So my best answer for that one, right? I got down to A. A was not correct. B was not correct. And C was not correct. So my best answer for this one was D. Addressing non-suicidal self-injurious requires an exploratory approach. Assess, assess, assess. She wasn't in any imminent danger. There was no reason to ask anybody anything else other than asking her. Remember, trust the question. It's a reading test. If she were suicidal, the test question would have told me that. Okay? Guys, remember, this is our website. We offer individual and group and small counseling and tons of free videos. We are here to help you pass the test on the first time. Thanks for tuning in to another video by Dr. Pam. I hope I see you in a live session. If you like this video, subscribe, like, and you can also leave me suggestions for what you'd like to see in the future.